what I feel after all of this is it's not about punishing. If somebody has, is struggling and has difficulties, you don't punish them for that. And I think a lot of these programs feel like the kid is being punished. And I don't think that's a great way to go. You're a parent and you think, there's my kid running out into the street, he's going to get hit by a truck. You want to keep him safe.
Rob Reiner's story, with All in the Family, carries a truth that's deeper than most people realize. Born Robert Norman Reiner on March 6, 1947, in New York City, he didn't just grow up around show business, he lived inside it from day one. With a legendary father like Carl Reiner, the iconic comedian, actor, and writer behind The Dick Van Dyke Show, the pressure was real from the start. His mother, Estelle Reiner, also left her mark in pop culture with her unforgettable moment in When Harry Met Sally. That one line, "I'll have what she's having," became etched into film history forever. Growing up in a household packed with comedy, sharp timing, and non-stop creativity gave Rob an early edge, but it also meant living under a massive shadow that wasn't easy to step out of. Instead of folding, Reiner leaned in. He attended UCLA Film School, studying directing and filmmaking, proving early on that he wasn't just chasing screen time, he was building something bigger. While acting opened the first doors, his education became the backbone of everything that came next. His big acting moment arrived in 1971, when Norman Lear cast him as Michael "Meathead" Stivic on the groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family. Playing the outspoken, idealistic son-in-law to Carol O'Connor's hard-headed Archie Bunker put Reiner right at the center of cultural firestorms playing out on TV screens across America. Meathead was loud, passionate, stubborn, and constantly clashing with Archie, and that tension made the show electric. Reiner walked a tightrope, blending humor with heart, making sure the character felt real instead of exaggerated. Over 9 seasons, his performance earned 2 Emmy Awards and helped turn everyday living rooms into places where real conversations finally happened. But even with all that success, Reiner made one thing clear: he wasn't going to stay boxed in as just an actor. Behind the scenes, Rob Reiner was soaking up knowledge like a sponge. Working closely with Norman Lear and a sharp team of writers, he picked up powerful lessons about storytelling, rhythm, and why characters always matter more than flashy tricks. Those years weren't just a job. They were a masterclass that quietly reshaped his future. By the early 1980s, Reiner made a bold move that changed everything. He stepped behind the camera and leaned fully into directing, a decision that locked in his creative identity and rewrote how Hollywood viewed him. What came next wasn't luck. It was a run that felt unreal. From 1984 to 1992, Reiner delivered an insane streak of films that jumped genres without missing a beat. Each project landed as a critical win, a box office hit, or straight up both. It kicked off with This Is Spinal Tap in 1984, a mockumentary so sharp it reshaped satire forever. Then came The Sure Thing in 1985, followed by Stand By Me in 1986, a raw, emotional coming-of-age story that hit audiences right in the chest. In 1987, The Princess Bride dropped, blending romance, adventure, and clever humor into something timeless.
It's only hard to reveal that stuff to then get told, you're a spoiled, white, rich kid, and it's like, okay, maybe all these things.
You just have to know what you do, and that you have to block out all that extraneous noise, and it's hard for him because this is the first time. He's, all of a sudden, there's a lot of attention, people are talking.
2 years later, When Harry Met Sally arrived, and instantly became one of the most loved romantic comedies ever made. Then came Misery in 1990, a tense psychological ride that kept audiences locked in. Finally, A Few Good Men in 1992 delivered unforgettable courtroom moments and dialogue that still gets quoted today. Very few directors have shown that kind of range. Reiner proved he could make people laugh, get emotional, feel nostalgic, or stay glued to the screen, all while keeping real heart at the center of every story. His films leaned into friendship, love, integrity, and truth, always driven by strong writing and standout performances. Actors often gave career-defining work under his direction, showing how much trust and respect he brought to the set. On top of that, Reiner co-founded Castle Rock Entertainment in 1987, named after a fictional town from Stephen King's stories. The company became a major force, producing smart, emotionally rich projects like Seinfeld, The Shawshank Redemption, When Harry Met Sally, and Misery. At a time when Hollywood leaned hard into spectacle, Reiner stayed focused on substance, and it paid off. Beyond pure entertainment, Rob Reiner has never stayed quiet when it comes to politics and social issues. Over the years, he's been loud about democracy, civil rights, and holding power accountable, whether people cheered him on or pushed back hard. Love him or criticize him, one thing stays clear: Reiner never ducked the spotlight when it came to speaking on what he believed mattered. That bold energy traces straight back to All in the Family, making it obvious the values he played as meathead weren't just scripted lines. Off-screen, those beliefs stuck. Later in life, Reiner returned to acting in supporting roles, often stepping into parts like executives, authority figures, or politicians, roles that carried weight, confidence, and that dry, knowing humor he mastered. Appearances in films like Primary Colors, The American President, and The Wolf of Wall Street reminded audiences he never lost his edge. His presence stayed sharp, expressive, and quietly commanding. While his career kept climbing, Reiner's personal life unfolded with just as many twists. Relationships, family, and loyalty stayed at the core of who he was. In 1971, he married actress and rising creative force Penny Marshall, a pairing that captured the energy of a shifting entertainment era. Reiner stepped fully into fatherhood early on, adopting Marshall's young daughter Tracy Reiner from her previous marriage. Tracy later carved out her own acting career, proving creativity ran deep in that household. Although Reiner and Marshall divorced in 1981, their shared history didn't fade. It remained a chapter built on ambition, growth, and lasting respect. Years later, during the production of When Harry Met Sally, life took another turn. While directing the film, Reiner met photographer Michelle Singer, and their connection hit on both a personal and creative level. That relationship even influenced the movie itself, inspiring a major emotional shift in the ending, a move that helped lock the film into classic status. What started professionally quickly became personal. In 1989, Reiner and Singer married and built a family rooted in creativity, independence, and honesty. Together, they welcomed 3 children, sons Jake and Nick, and daughter Romy, each growing up shaped by both opportunity and public attention. Their eldest, Jake Reiner, leaned into storytelling and journalism, working in film before becoming a television news reporter in Houston, Texas. His path blended creative influence with real-world storytelling. Their second son, Nick Reiner, faced well-documented struggles with substance dependency starting at a young age, something Rob Reiner has addressed openly as part of his advocacy for awareness and compassion. Through it all, the family emphasized responsibility, treatment, and pushing forward, not silence. Their youngest, Romy Reiner, built her own lane as a filmmaker and writer, known for her close bond with her parents and her honest voice. Romy has spoken often about the values she grew up with: empathy, truth, and the courage to tackle tough subjects head-on. Across marriages, parenthood, career highs, and personal challenges, Rob Reiner's off-screen life stayed raw and real, not polished, not perfect, but deeply human. And while Reiner has always spoken proudly about All in the Family, time added layers to those memories. Looking back, he's admitted that beneath the praise and cultural impact were moments of pressure and quiet struggle that shaped him for years to come. "It was one of the most important experiences of my life," Rob Reiner has said, but he's also been honest that it wasn't always a joyful one. That single line captures what he now calls the sad truth behind a show millions still remember with warmth. Reiner was incredibly young when he stepped into the role of Michael Meathead Stivic on All in the Family, suddenly placed front and center as the outspoken liberal opposite Carol O'Connor's Archie Bunker. Almost overnight, he found himself navigating a pressure-heavy environment filled with seasoned performers and strong creative personalities. "I was a kid, really," Reiner has admitted. "I had strong opinions, but not the wisdom yet to know when to push and when to listen." That mix of youth, confidence, and politically charged material often put him right in the middle of tension, both on set and off. One of the toughest realities Reiner has openly discussed is his complicated dynamic with O'Connor. On screen, their clashes were comedy gold. Off-screen, things could feel tense and emotionally draining. Reiner has explained that many people assumed they disliked each other because of how intense the arguments appeared. The reality, though, was more layered. "We respected each other," Reiner has said, "but we came from completely different places." O'Connor, older and fiercely protective of his character, sometimes pushed back against challenges. Meanwhile, Reiner struggled with being viewed as inexperienced. "There were moments when I felt unheard," he's admitted, and that feeling stuck with him. Another painful truth Reiner has confirmed is how often the show's message was misunderstood. All in the Family was created as satire, meant to expose prejudice by putting it right out in the open. But instead of questioning Archie Bunker, some viewers embraced him as a hero. That reaction deeply troubled Reiner. "It broke my heart," he once said, explaining that the goal was to hold up a mirror, not celebrate what was being shown. Watching harmful ideas get applause instead of pushback became a sobering lesson about the limits of satire and how complicated real change can be. Reiner has also spoken about the personal toll of living in constant debate. The heated discussions, emotional material, and non-stop pressure to deliver week after week added weight that didn't show up on screen. "You don't notice it at first," he said, "but carrying that much tension eventually catches up with you." While audiences laughed, the cast often wrestled with the seriousness beneath the humor. The line between performance and real emotion blurred more than people realized. Still, Reiner is careful not to erase gratitude from the story. He has consistently praised Norman Lear's brilliance and the show's historic impact. "I wouldn't trade that experience for anything," Rob Reiner has said, "but I wouldn't pretend it was easy either." That one line says a lot. It captures the pride, the scars, and the truth he's never tried to dodge. Looking back now, Reiner doesn't romanticize those years. He breaks them down honestly. The sad reality, as he's admitted more than once, is that All in the Family didn't grow out of comfort or harmony. It was forged in tension, loud disagreements, and constant pushback. Every episode carried risk. Every joke tested boundaries. And sometimes, the backlash hit just as hard as the praise. That honesty gives the show even more power today. It reminds people that real change doesn't come from playing it safe. The laughter echoed through living rooms across America, but behind the scenes, there was pressure, exhaustion, and emotional strain. Writers argued, cast members clashed, lines were debated again and again. Acknowledging that doesn't weaken the legacy, it strengthens it. It proves that meaningful art is messy, demanding, and human. Years later, that human side came into painful focus again. A serious and deeply disturbing emergency involving Reiner and his wife Michelle sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Authorities rushed to their Brentwood, Los Angeles home, triggering an immediate and intense response. Details were scarce, but the gravity of the situation was impossible to ignore. Friends and colleagues who had known the couple for decades were left shaken, struggling to process the sudden turn. The heavy presence of emergency crews made it clear this wasn't just another headline. The entertainment world paused. Conversations shifted. Suddenly, people weren't just revisiting Reiner's work. They were reflecting on his life, his family, and the weight he'd quietly carried. A home once known for warmth, creativity, and open invitations was overtaken by flashing lights, tense silence, and the chilling routines that follow a serious emergency. The contrast was jarring and unreal. In that moment of shock and disbelief, the family leaned instinctively on the people they trusted most. Not long after authorities were contacted, Romy Reiner made a call filled with urgency and fear. She reached out to someone who knew her father beyond the public image, Billy Crystal. The call was short, heavy, and impossible to soften. Crystal understood immediately what was happening and didn't hesitate. He rushed to the house with his wife, stepping straight into a moment no one has ever prepared for. His presence spoke volumes. It reflected decades of friendship, shared laughter, creative battles, and unbreakable loyalty. It also marked a turning point, a reminder that even legends face moments that ripple far beyond their own walls. Moments like this pull back the curtain and remind everyone just how real these lives truly are. What are your thoughts on this story? Drop a comment below, hit like if this moved you, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.